podcast has started. My voice is starting to come back. Like it's still, I can feel not quite fully healed all the way. Still drinking hot honey and water. I'm all out. Hot water and honey, I should say. With a little bit of pink Himalayan salt. It's gotten a lot better. It's not 100%. Like, it sounds good, but I can still feel, like, in the back of my throat where I can't quite do things the way I want to, project things the way I want to, make certain voices out the way I want to, without it, like, hurting more than it should, or having to try to cushion how I do it. I don't know. But we're not really trying to push it. It's just like 1 or 2 more days, and I think it should be totally fine again. Okay. Yep, my cousin's band and stuff. When I moved in, I lived with my cousin for several years at my aunt and uncle's place in Dagsburg, Delaware, and I need to do my nails. Um, yeah, he had a band. Still, I guess he still has a band. I mean, they don't hardly ever do anything with each other, but I guess they have a band. Um, Years and years and years they've had this band now. Uh, yeah. Um, Not to get all into like that and everything, like the name of the band and all that stuff and everything. I'm not trying. You'll find all that stuff out later. I'm not trying to promote anything, but just my bedroom was the computer room where we both had our computers in and shit, and they would practice. We eventually built a sound studio in the backyard, like out of a shed, but we they used to, oh my god, practice right there in the living room all the time, and I'd be right there in that other room, or I'd be out there in that room where they were playing, and I'd sleep in the room sometimes where they were playing and stuff. And then one of our uncles came one time and had a decibel reader, and I forget what the decibel was, but it said like if you're exposed to it for more than like so many seconds, you have permanent hearing damage for the rest of your life. And that's what I was getting into too. It's like I have no idea how my ears aren't as damaged as they should be, like, and my brain isn't as fucked up as it should be. It's like all the scans I've gotten says it's healthy and all that shit. And my ears, I got my ears checked. Uh, Basically, it's almost kind of like what I always thought. It's like I don't really like have hard of hearing. I just don't hear things right all the time, and it's this one frequency, and it's in one of my ears, and that's what throws it off. It's like there's a certain tone of voice or range or frequency or something with sound when people hit it and say it, and when it tries to reach me, I can hear it in one of my ears, but my other ear doesn't like pick it up right for some reason, and that's why I hear funny shit sometimes. But also, people hear funny shit all the time, anyways. Uh, they just don't always say it out loud like I do. But I'll hear some weird shit. I wish I could remember all the silly, funny things I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like one thing. It's like that's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did you just say? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the girl to the grocery store counter or something. You know what I mean? It's like just something. It's so funny. I love that shit. I wish I could write and remember all those moments. They're so fun. Oh, why camera's being all funny? Why being funny, camera? Um, and and oh my gosh, we would play games so much all the time, just this and that and that and that all the time. But what we played the most was World of Warcraft because you had to pay for it monthly, and you felt like you're fucking obligated. You had to pay. I gotta get my fucking money's worth. I gotta fucking do. And you play the shit out of that. That's how I ended up coming up with my tagger, my game tag name, Cold Mandrake, because that's what I went by for so long playing that fucking game. And it's like we were just always kind of into that stuff, like World of Warcraft. It was like we played the other one like Guild Wars or something before that, like, and it was like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is like kind of like what we always kind of like wanted to think and do and imagine, because we always played like other type of RPGs and stuff like that, and we played at the time in the '90s it was a program called ZMUD, and on the ZMUD program, people could create and design and make their own games, and they could make like Dungeons and Dragons type action adventure type games, but it's all text based stuff. So it's like you're in a room, what do you do? Look at room, look around, and you have different like, things you can type in and stuff and kill. And that's how I learned how to type. Actually, like used to type like chicken scratch, but then I learned how to type like this because I found out where the keys were on the board by myself and had my own way of like, okay, well I can reach it this way. And then at school I had a typing class and she like would force you, like, no, that pinky for that, index for this, and da 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 da. And I still cheat sometimes, but sometimes you just can't. I just can't help it properly do it. But it was fun. We would play for hours. I was like fucking, I don't even know how old I was, teenager, though. I think it was probably even in middle school at one time, or high school possibly. But but just drinking pots of coffee, just a pot of coffee, sitting there, and because you just didn't want to go to sleep, you wanted to level up, you wanted to help the team, and it just. Michael was like my cousin that I played with. He was a Fremen, I believe, if I remember correctly. I was Harkonnen. I was like, oh, that'd be cool, be bad. I was like, they were tough as shit. He did a bunch of drugs and shit, and I thought it was cool and really fun. But then, like, once World of Warcraft came out and those types of games, it was like, oh my god, and you just sucked right the fuck into it. I played that shit so much. We drank and played and fucking, oh my gosh. It really can suck your life away if you let it. If you really let it, it can't happen. You gotta really like learn how to moderate and limit yourself and stuff, and not get sucked into things, which it's easy to fucking happen. And it's happened to me time to time here playing even just these couple of games that I started playing with Magic and PUBG. Like you'll play one and like, oh, just one more, and then you're playing longer than you want to. You really gotta regulate yourself, create your own boundaries and limitations, and know when you need to do things so you can go be responsible the next day and do what you got to do and wake up and be well rested to do what you need to do. Yeah, I thought my ears changed over time, but I guess it's just kind of been the same. They just kind of always been consistently damaged the same, I guess. Surprise, no damage. How everything feels like it's damaging. Yeah. And now it does, dude. Because I have the tinnitus from getting struck in the head, and it just like right now. I mean, it constantly always like. I mean, I hear the hum from the computer, but it sounds like a television screen turning on inside my head all the time. It's just like this weird crystal crackling in the back of my head. It's just always there. That's why the earbuds help so much. I took them out, let them charge for a little while because I lost one of my earbuds, one of my sets, and I was thinking about buying them. I can't keep buying stuff, and Lucius has stuff he needs to be taken care of. I just when you start getting stuff in, so I'm just suffered a little while, put them in, and it kind of helps muffle the noise in my head a little while, and take them out for a little while and deal with it, and just back and forth. It'll be what it is. But yeah, like all my life was playing video games with my cousin, and it's so crazy like how things like manifested the way they did in real life. Because I was always second player because he's the older sibling. He's my cousin, but we were always play together and stuff. And Mario, it's red. His first player, and second player is green. Luigi. But for the most part, in every game that you play. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm more than certain that like if you play Contra or Bubble Bobble or like stuff like that. No, they weren't red either. That was green and blue. But it's usually like, I mean, I remember Contra specifically. He had the blue character and second player was red. It's just so crazy how like that manifested into real life in so many weird ways. I'm more center right, and he's like, just that's his business. Hell hath no fury like Matt playing Mega Man was one of my favorite lines Michael would play because, like I said before, I've had problems and anger issues with video games. It just like if the command doesn't operate the way I think it should command and doesn't feel it just and or it does something that I like nope. I get frustrated like no. It's like kind of like a control thing, I guess, but at the same time, it's like a standards like taste thing. Like when it comes to like culinary stuff and everything, it's like no, this needs to have this to make this simple mechanic make more sense, or that. Da, 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 da. And then like outright like fallacies and glitches happen, or people cheat and stuff like that, or like you just see something that just that's not how the fuck thing's supposed to function. But oh my gosh. I so don't give a shit anymore. Like, so many things have changed since last week. Like, I almost thought it was funny to get upset and rant about some of those things because that's what all of my fucking friends used to say when I grew up all the time. I mean, not say, but they would do to me all the time. They'd always try to get a rise out of me because they just thought it was so funny to see Matt get mad. But hell hath no fury like Matt playing Mega Man. I would be like, what the fuck? And like I said, I've dislocated my own jaw 3 times. I've punched shit. I've broke shit. I've smashed controllers. Not a lot, because I'm like, that's all I have. You know, I'm not going to fuck it up. But I smashed like one controller one time, like a Super Nintendo controller, playing Super Star Wars. And like, I would punch TVs, and it was like, boom! But it would be really hard, but like, can't do that in them fucking TVs these days. That's why I eventually ended up hitting myself in the face and stuff. And it was bad, but we got over all that shit. That's for sure. I always thought that was hilarious though when he said that, and it was like, yep. So it was you and I was playing Mega Man. It was just to come over and try. It was like some like newer retro version when it was like fun. It was smooth, but like, yeah. It's like I know what I have to do and I can do it. I mean, but I'm like that in real life with stuff too. It's like I know what needs to be done. I can do it if you just let me get it. And they're just right like that, and I'll do it. And it's not like quite OCD, but it's like I have to have things done in a certain way. It's the anxiety thing in me and whatnot. The Risperidone really helped with that, and it like made me like chill and not give a fuck about nothing. But it's like, you know how fucking head pills work with people over time. You know, no matter how much I was like, I can't stop taking these. After a while, it gets to the point where it's like I want to fucking know and believe that I'm in control of myself to some fucking degree, and it's not the drugs doing it. You know, I want to know it's me doing it, or you know, just letting Christ work through me, or just accepting and dealing with the emotional like dilemma and trauma that I have, and not being fucking medicated and drugged the fuck up all the time. Ooh. And that was one of my living situations back then, living with my cousin at my aunt and uncle's house. I've had a few. I always tried to get out on my own so many fucking times. It just never really worked out. From the house in Shelbyville, when was the first time I moved? I think the first time I moved was when I thought that me and my girlfriend at the time were gonna, you know, make something happen. First I moved in with her over at, well, she would come over to my house all the time, and then I moved out towards her way and started, you know, because like it was closer to my wrestling and my training out there. So I moved in with her in her parents' house, and I was just finding whatever side work I could do. I worked for Van Hammer's stepdad for a little while, and just doing stuff around the yard. I cleaned their horse shit. That was the first thing. That's how I asked if I could start working with them. Like Hammer was showing us around, me and some of the other guys I wrestled with, around the barn and stuff in his ring and this and that, and what he planned on doing and moving it and all this and everything. And I was walking around the yard, I just saw all the horse shit everywhere and hadn't been cleaned in a while, and I was like, yo, you know, he's like, that's what I'm talking about. I need guys like that here. Like, we're gonna figure out how to pay your bill, you're gonna fucking work and do it, da da da. I'm like, yeah man, I gotta do something. So I wheelbarrowed and cleaned up all that, and I worked for a stepdad for a little while, shoveling stuff, staining stuff, moving stuff, and then eventually I got a job working with my girlfriend at the time's brother, doing gutter and installation. And then from there, when I was working there, I ended up getting a job offer from one of her friends' boyfriends at the time, Falco. We moved upstate across the bridge into fuck was it called? It was not Dundalk was where I wrestled. Fuck, I can't think of the name of the damn place that we moved to. Because Dundalk was always in my head. Dundalk was where I wrestled at the flea market all the time. Damn it, I can't remember the name of that place. Glen Burnie. I think that's what it was. Glen Burnie? I could be wrong. I just remember when I was out there, it's just like all I met was crazy people and crackheads. It was pretty wild. We lived in this apartment. We moved in with her friend. She wasn't with her boyfriend. It'd be cool if she was with her boyfriend, and we lived with her boyfriend in his fucking nice place. He was rich. He had money. He had a printing press, and he was starting. And that's why I moved out there, because he was starting a deck building company with this other crackhead friend of his that was convinced him that he could do it to make extra money and blah 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 blah. Promised me $100 a day when I moved out there. Then I went to $80 a day to $60 a day, and then we'll pay you $80 if you work past this and do all this, blah blah blah. But we were living with her crackhead friend and her crackhead mother, and then she was starting to get into crack because that's all they did was crack all the time, and that friend of hers had a little baby, and I would get upset and talk about how horrible it was in the situation, and hoping that like their other grandparents can take care of her and stuff. And eventually I found out not too long ago, like a couple years ago, my ex told me that, that girl, remember that baby? She said, yeah, she's dead now. Like, something happened. Something horrible happened. I don't even remember what it was. This is crazy. But, lived there for like a month or two before it was just like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. This is just insanity. And I worked at the printing press that he had for a little while after I did the deck building stuff, because that guy fucked up. And instead of going to work one day, he drove us around getting crack and this and that and everything. And I told on him, I was like, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. This guy's a fucking nut job. He did more fucking nutty things than that to fucking disturb me and upset me before. I was just like, fuck it. I'm telling Falco, this is ridiculous. So he dropped him, and I worked in his print press for a while, and then he ended up almost losing his business too, for other reasons. So it's just like, I need to get out of here. This is ridiculous. And wrestling was kind of like getting touch and go there for a little while, but it was doing pretty good. And then when I moved back to Delaware, we moved back to my house that I grew up in with my parents, with me and her again, and then we ended up screaming at each other to the point we just broke up. I remember just I'm driving to the bridge one day to go to a wrestling show, and I just stopped and didn't know what I fucking wanted to do with myself anymore. Came back, and then it was just moving around from place to place. Around Delaware. Like, I lived in with them for a little while. I lived in with a couple other friends of mine that their dad had a restaurant, and we lived in the back of the restaurant for a little while. And then I was starting to get blamed for the shit that his son was doing, and I was just like, whatever, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And that's why I lived with my cousin for a little while. And after I lived with my cousin for a little while, I moved back home. And then after I moved back home for a little while, my mom and my stepdad were short selling the house that I grew up in, and they were moving. So I'm like, what do I do? And I started a homeless outreach ministry at that time. I'm like, now I'm going to be fucking homeless. And then like a friend hooked me up with a friend of hers, and I lived with this Canadian chick in Millsboro for a while, and now she's doing something off on her. I don't know where she's at now, but she really helped me out for a while. I texted her when I came out here. I haven't heard nothing back from her, but it was just really good, helpful people. And then it was 2016, and my stepdad, ended up passing away, and I was like, I want to go help and be with my mom, and it all worked out conveniently because she needed to help somebody else. The Canadian chick I was living with needed to help somebody else that was a friend of hers, and mom, whether she knew she needed it or not, she needed it, and then it did help her for a while, and then she helped me, and it was always back and forth. It's always been with me and my mom against the world most of my life. So we were actually talking about possibly considering getting her out here sometime somehow, but That's a big change, big deal for her. But we're not going to get into that too much right now. But we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to take Lucius for a walk, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to try to shoot one or two more. God bless. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and patience with me. Until next time.